and that's in terms of comments made by Jinder Mahal, basically defending WWE against the fans. In certain cases, basically stating that WWE has no problem creating new stars. And honestly, I beg to differ. And I'm just going to go by it and basically give a rundown about what he said. And I quote, "Yeah, they absolutely do. That's what we're in the business of, right? Just being a fan myself. So I grew up first the Hulk Hogan era, then the era of stars came Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Mankind. And then new stars came in the next generation, Rock, Stone Cold, and the next generation after that, which, of course, he likes to bring up Randy, Cena, Batista. Oh, wait, one sec. Bada bam, bada boom, Scoot in the room.
What it do, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, I had to bring in and say the Mr. AKA himself, because we didn't know what you was gonna come with.
Oh, well, you know what I'm saying? You know, this is October, right? So, you know, this is usually a special month for a lot of people. And, you know, I had to do it right for this month of October. So, you know, as you can see the name, you know what I'm saying? Had to let the people know right there the creativity is shining today. So that's why I chose Dustin, you know, aka the natural. You know what I'm saying?
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
So, but see, this is the thing though. With the help of the missus, you know what I'm saying? She got me right today. So as soon as this thing worked, she got me right. So you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Had to let the people know.
Okay, you know I'm not mad at that. You know Tell Ash she did a good job.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, as she was doing it, it was a little bit of Dustin with a little bit of Kane at the same time. You know what I'm saying? I come right for October, you know?
Well, kudos to Ash for doing that.
Gotta come right, you know?
That's dope, man.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, we literally, like, damn near just finished it. So I gotta make sure I don't touch nothing. You know,
and you got a cut?
What's up?
When'd you get your hair cut, man?
A while ago. It's just starting to grow back in. And
did I not notice it when we were at?
Yeah, it was. You know, I always wear the bandana, so you know what I'm saying.
That's what it was.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, Scoot. I was taking up your job for a little bit with the scoops.
No, you good.
But I mean, I was gonna drop this on here anyway.
You covering NXT by yourself? You're stealing Scoot's gimmick? Like what's
no.
Because
I had just like read this shit, and and it was apropos for me to just come on and talk about it. But basically, Jinder Mahal is defending WWE against the fans. Basically with the fans stating that WWE doesn't make new stars.
I did briefly see this.
Okay. So basically what I was just saying was that, you know, he brought up the fact, you know, he had Hulk Hogan during that era, you know, had Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and all them. Then he had, you know, the next generation with Undertaker, Mankind, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. Then after that, you had The Rock, Stone Cold, et cetera, et cetera. And then he goes on and he has the audacity after bringing up Randy Orton, John Cena, and Batista. He brought up the fact that now at this point in time, he said himself, Drew McIntyre, Big E, Bobby Lashley, Kofi Kingston, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. And then he goes on to say that that's several champions over the past 10 years. And then there's probably more. So my thing is, if we just go down the list of the people that he stated, he said himself first and foremost, which I don't agree with, because he was, for lack of a better term, before he was a champion, enhancement talent. You know, he hadn't won any championships prior to winning the. At least I don't think he won anything prior to winning the WWE championship. If I'm correct, I don't
Yeah, man,
believe he did.
He was part of 3MB. He didn't get shot.
You talking about Gender?
Yeah.
No, he won the U.S. title after his world
so it was
title.
after. Okay.
Yeah.
So
but other than that, he was only world champion.
So there's that. Drew McIntyre, yeah, he was built up at a certain point, but then they dropped that whole ball, even when they had the Chosen One gimmick going on. And then he left, built himself up, and then came back. Then they pushed him.
Yes.
If we talk about Big E, they can possibly say that because it's under the WWE umbrella from NXT, then going onto the main roster.
I'll say New Day in general.
Yeah, New Day's fine, except for Kofi. Kofi was already a star before that.
True.
And even if we talk about him winning the championship, that's something that happened just on, a chance. It was not something that was in the cards. Nobody was planning it. So it's not like, oh, WWE made Kofi Kingston in that regard. He was already made under that. And again, yes, it's still WWE. But as far as champion-wise, that was by happenstance. Bobby Lashley.
Lashley's the same way. He left.
Yeah, he left, came back, and then there was that. Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is a situation to where they pretty much force him down everybody's throats up to a certain point.
Yeah, he had no choice.
And then he started to get himself over after that. Seth Rollins, he was on the indie scene a long time ago, and then he came into WWE. So he's talking about these guys being made. Not so much, because it's that this is where I don't necessarily believe that, because if we even think about that, let's talk about Jinder. How many people can sit here and say Jinder had this match this time? What was his title reign even memorable?
Yes and no.
Okay, well then let me ask you this then.
It's memorable for the wrong reasons.
I think I know where you're going. So then let me ask you this.
For the wrong reasons.
If it wasn't for the whole thing of them going to Saudi Arabia, do you think he would have been a champion?
Fuck no.
Okay. So yeah, that's one of my main gripes about that. And Drew McIntyre, I don't know if he hadn't left. Granted, he got fired, so I don't. There's your answer right there. So Big E, I think Big E would have been a champion eventually. It would have taken a while, but I think the New Day thing kind of helped that along the way with the popularity of the New Day.
Yeah, because he even said that being with the New Day kind of got him out of his shell more. So it did.
Okay, so then let's go with Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley, same thing. He really couldn't talk well, and I think he still has a good body of work in terms of his look, aesthetically, and in-ring stuff is perfectly fine. But as far as promo-wise, I don't think WWE would have pushed him without MVP.
That's a fair thing to say. I'm not gonna lie. It is very fair because look what happened with him and Leo. It seemed like it could have went somewhere, but then it was like no. But then all of a sudden, he became a new guy, apparently, whenever he got with MVP. So, obviously, Bobby just turned around and just, boom, became somebody new when he was with MVP. So, I don't know. Weird, but hey. But
very true.
Thing is, too, though, just like how everything else is different with the measuring stick, unfortunately, the measuring stick is different this time around, because when we talking about the stars Jinder Mahal is talking about compared to the stars then, yes, these people are stars, but they're nowhere on the levels of Hogan, Savage, Flair, Shawn, Austin, Rock, Cena, Batista, Trips, you know, they're not nowhere near that level. So yeah, they're stars today because the goalpost has changed. It's not the same goalpost anymore.
I can agree with that. But at the and the reason why I agree with that is because that's very true. But in terms of what he's saying, the fact that he even introduced all those names and never even had that caveat in there to be like, okay, well, things have changed along the way. Because he could have easily saved himself and been like, you know, well, it's different because before you had megastars who people paid tickets to go and see. You know, it's not that same thing now. Like nobody's buying tickets to go see Roman Reigns. They just know that he's very entertaining as a heel character, which that brings me to that aspect as well. It wasn't until he did what the fans continue to ask him to, or ask WWE for him to do, that he became as popular as he is now.
Yes, absolutely.
And with the Kofi thing, Kofi was pretty much already a made man. Like he already had a Hall of Fame worthy career outside of winning the WWE Championship. It's just the fact that now they're more so talking about him because of that accolade.
Yes. And then too, and like, so if you're looking at today, if we're looking at the stars of today, we're talking about Seth, New Day, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bianca is getting there. Who else? Trying to think. Oh, Roman, of course. Even if you're looking at the stars today, like it's still such a weird thing because you're not seeing them nowhere else. You're only seeing them in this WWE umbrella. Like, they're not on Saturday Night Live or they're not in some random movie role other than Sasha being in Mandalorian and New Day being in all that. But, you know, they're not given a chance to cross over into the mainstream because, once again, Vince doesn't want another wrestler to have that type of leverage over him. But, you know, even if looking at the stars today, like we had people, I mean, like we had people like Crash Holly. Crash Holly was a star because anything that involved him in that hardcore title was interesting as hell.
Yeah, because it was different.
They tried to do it with Truth in the 24/7 title, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But you know, then you had people like a Mankind who kind of came out of nowhere and became a star. Like,
that's true.
It's weird because, and I hate that I'm about to say this, the stars of today would technically kind of be the mid card, upper mid card of yesterday.
Interesting.
And I hate saying it that way because I really, really respect those people so much. But if we really put it in perspective, you wasn't outshining Rock, you wasn't outshining Stone Cold, you wasn't outshining DX, you wasn't outshining Undertaker. So if you wasn't, or we can even add Kurt Angle to that. So if you wasn't one of them people, you would have had to do the utmost to stand out.
True.
Maybe the New Day probably could have still stood out because the tag division was still the tag division. So maybe the New Day could have stood out, just maybe. But the women would have had an uphill battle back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
An uphill battle. Like, it would have been, why try? You know, why try? So gender is right and wrong at the same time because the goalposts have shifted. It's not the same goalposts as it used to be.
I mean, it's very obviously built by that design, though, that there is a bit of an agreement that WWE has made homegrown talent because everybody that they import, they go through NXT, get their shine there for a few years, and then when they get called up, they end up getting buried somewhere in the mid card.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and they might sniff a title one day, and then next thing you know, they're done away with.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I think the people that have come closest to like stardom would be like maybe Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have your Johnny Garganos, you have your Adam Coles, you have your even right now Karrion Kross. They just don't get the respect that they got in NXT. Even though they got such an amazing build in that show.
Yeah, and that's one of the main problems that I have with WWE is that, and just like you said, Jaeger, how they come in, it's that whole stigma of the WWE style, because what happens is they see you do something elsewhere and they want to bring you in because of what you did outside, but they bring you in and they dilute everything that they signed you for to make you work the way they want you to work, and takes away everything special about what made them want you in the first place, which is fucking crazy to even think about.
You know what? You could almost think of it like an evil scheme, because once they go to WWE and then that flame kind of dies out for them because they get so watered down, where else are they going to go? Because every other company is going to, I mean, yes, they have that stardom. Oh, I was in WWE, but they also know that this person has or is willing to downgrade themselves, for lack of a better term, and maybe give up on some creative rights.
That's there's a conspiracy theorist thing about that. If you think about it, like, if you want to be conspiracy theorists and put your tinfoil hats on, it's almost, you can say that they're taking everybody that could take the attention away from WWE, signing them to a contract, diluting them completely, and pushing their own stars, while everybody else that was making waves outside of WWE in catering
undesirable.
Correct.
I mean, it was funny because a few weeks ago, Mike was like, yeah, I don't think WWE could mess Shotzi up if they tried. And I had to hit him with a dose of reality. I said, did you not see Karrion Kross? Do you not see Ricochet?
Huh?
And he was like, oh. Which when we get off of this point, I'll get to the next story after we finish with the gender and his whole them making stars.
Oh, I mean that was pretty much it. I just wanted to discuss that because I just found that interesting that he would really defend that aspect and then compare now to.
He's a company,
but like
man.
You said, of course. But where is he on the card now? Gender, where are you on the card right now? What storyline are you in? What titles have you won since you came back? Tell me that. I'm just saying.
Let that man be.
I mean, I will for now.
He may be perfectly happy with where he's at.
Gender, talk to me in 6 months. See where you at.